After 20 years of waiting for another Independence Day film, the day has finally arrived. 20 years later, where we have a sequel to Independence Day. Welcome everybody to my official Independence Day Resurgence movie review. Well, this video will contain no spoilers at all, so in case you guys are wondering about spoilers, worry not, because this video will contain no spoilers, but in fact, my spoiler-filled review will be coming in about an hour, so make sure you guys tune into that for all the juicy details. Now, I will say that for a shortcoming, Independence Day Resurgence cannot be based and compared to the 1996 version, because the 1996 version that had Will Smith in it, I believe was entirely different as was compared to this film. This film was more or less based on the aliens trying to get revenge after what happened, and seemingly enough on a very grand scale, much larger than ever before. Now, there were certain, scenarios and certain scenes that were very predictable. The movie, I would have to say, does contain lots of plot holes that kind of further the film into becoming more predictable, but needless to say, in comparison to a sci-fi film, this was actually a very, very entertaining sci-fi movie. The way the aliens were introduced, the way the anti-gravity was brought about, because we do get to see the anti-gravity weapon in the trailers and stuff, and so comparing this to the first movie, I would have to say that this movie does a much better job in, portraying CGI. The destruction level in this movie, I would have to say, was much larger than the first film. So for those of you out there who do want to see devastation, destruction, anarchy, chaos, I mean, this was the movie for you guys. By the end of the movie, however, and I will say this, there will be another film that will follow up to this in the future, which again I'm very excited about, because it was actually hinted several times that there will be a sequel to this film, which again I really have no problem with. The only downside to this movie is the fact that Will Smith was not able to be a part of this. Whatever happened backstage with the directors and producers and Will himself led to the character being quote-unquote killed off, in which case we all had a understanding of during the trailers as well, when they spoke about the main character's father and stuff, how he was a great pilot and whatnot. So that was very disappointing to see how they weren't able to resolve their issues and possibly bring him in into the next film. But Independence Day Resurgence, it lacks the spectacle that I would have to say that the first movie had. The first movie brought a very tense atmosphere. The first movie introduced us to a very uncommon threat never before seen in humanity's existence. And in this film, the way the aliens came about, I mean, it was grand. It was spectacular the way they were introduced. But the way it felt kind of made it seem as if the movie was a bit cheesy in a way. In terms of a sci-fi flick, I mean, it's possibly one of the best sci-fi movies, I would have to say, in recent memory. Again, the CGI was great. The actors and actresses in this film were absolutely amazing, not taking that away. However, there were certain things that, you would have to sit there and wonder to yourself, well, that really didn't need to happen, because, again, that goes back to the plot holes of this film. This film is not a perfect film, so for anybody out there who is curious to know if this movie is going to be perfect, this movie is not perfect in any way, shape, or form. However, the quality of the film is stunningly amazing. The way they, portrayed this grand leader behind the aliens was very, very well executed. The way the simulation was, brought about with the air fights and the space battles and stuff, it was really, really done very, very well. It wasn't necessarily shown in the first movie, and the first movie had its flaws too. I mean, think about that. They had a giant computer virus that infect the alien, spaceship and stuff. It was kind of wacky-tacky, but again, this film is also just as wacky-tacky. It's not as shallow as some people would have to say, because there were certain people that were saying, well, the movie is just completely shallow and it lacks the qualities of being a good sequel. I would have to disagree and say that this movie was definitely enjoyable, especially for an action sci-fi film. If you're looking to watch a very good alien fight, I would have to say this is the movie for you. Now, in terms of the story, we do have an understanding that the humans have been prepping for a possible second invasion for such a long time, and just basing, the ending of this film with what they're going to be doing next is also questionable, because you really don't know what they're going to do. I feel as if critics from around the world are often going to compare this to the first film, and I really don't think that should be the case at all, because again, this film and the first film, I believe, at least in my humble opinion, that they are both two entirely different films. And of course, for many out there wondering which movie did I prefer more, I would have to say the first movie, only slightly because of the way we had, Will Smith's portrayal, the way we had you know, the ending come about and stuff. It was really grand. But leading into, you know, the 4th of July coming up this year, I would have to say that this movie is a very, very good follow-up. It's not the best follow-up to a movie, but I would have to say that this is quite an enjoyable film. I mean, again, you know, you can't really compare this to anything else, especially with the first film, because the first film had its pros and cons, just like this movie had its pros and cons. The alien battles, people are gonna wonder, well, are they better than the first movie? I believe so. With the way the anti-gravity weapon was used, it was so devastating, because imagine being put in a position where this weapon is being used to pick up entire cities and dropping them right on you. It's pretty scary stuff. I mean, sequels have often spoiled us to the point where a sequel is neither better or worse compared to its, you know, original concept, because more often than not, sometimes people often say, well, sequels are just trash to begin with. There should often be just one film and that's it, just one and done. But I mean, sequels have made up for great content. There have been great sequels to movies in the past, and comparing this, however, again, this is not an Oscar-worthy film, but I would have to say that this is a very good follow-up, in my opinion. If I had to rate this out of 1 to a 10, I would give this movie possibly an 8 out of 10. It was very, very fun, very entertaining, very enjoyable, and I think that you guys would definitely enjoy this film with your girlfriends, with your boyfriends, even with your parents. I mean, especially with the people that have watched the first film. Oscars shouldn't be awarding films like this for mainstream content, because just because this film may have a green light prestige comparing and going off of the first film back 20 years ago, still, I mean, people are going to say, well, we expected an Oscar-worthy film. This is not an Oscar-worthy film, but I would have to say this is a very, very entertaining film. The CGI, as I just said, was amazing. The alien fights were great. There were certain things about the characters that didn't really connect with me in a way, and I will touch up more of that in my breakdown review. But what did you guys think of Independence Day Resurgence? Did you guys like the film? Did you guys hate the film? In comparison to the first film, what are your overall thoughts, guys? Let me know down below. Stay tuned for my spoiler-filled review. Lots of awesome things to talk about there, guys. Once again, thank you all for watching. If you guys are fans, don't forget to subscribe for more movie reviews like this, for more content similar to this. If you guys enjoyed the film, don't forget to punch that like button right in the face. Thank you all for watching. Once again, tune in for the spoiler-filled review, and I'll be seeing you all in space, guys. Take it easy. Peace!